The last few days have been absolutely crazy with Mortal Kombat 11 news. Not even that long ago, we were just talking about a leak that happened at GameStop, like Italy, showing off Shao Kahn, talking about some characters, and no kidding, that was literally like a day and a half ago, and something else has dropped that is rather significant. Not too long ago, Todd McFarlane was having an Ask Me Anything over on Reddit. For you guys that don't know, if you weren't born in the 90s, Todd McFarlane is the creator of Spawn, a hugely iconic comic book character back from the same time frame, and one that I personally absolutely love. Spawn has also been a heavy sought-after request in NetherRealm games ever since Mortal Kombat X. In fact, we have several videos that we've made back in the day when MKX was out, talking about the possibilities, him talking about him being in a Mortal Kombat game, and so many things were around that time frame rumor-wise that just never ended up coming true, that we thought were eventually going to happen in Injustice. However, Injustice ended up getting the Ninja Turtles, which is just as equally big as an announcement, so that never really came to fruition. However, a lot of likelihood of Spawn showing up in something because there was so many random talks and elements showing up that it feels like he's going to be somewhere, we just don't know where, and we were assuming the next Mortal Kombat. And we got some pretty good information now, because during this Reddit post, Todd was asked specifically about Mortal Kombat 11, and he had this in response. Yeah, that's pretty, that's almost concrete. I'm thinking maybe Todd could have been confused in the previous games, because around 2013, Spawn was in Soul Calibur 2, so he might have been like, oh, we were hoping the character was going to be used in something, and he wasn't, but I think there was always a plan to have Spawn somewhere in a NetherRealm game, Injustice or Mortal Kombat. It just never really came to fruition. Whether or not that's going to tie into the rumors that were posted a few days ago and were translated from the Italian GameStop website about a story mode featuring potentially like a big movie character, it could be a translation error, but it could also mean that Spawn might potentially be in the story mode. I think that would be badass if they try to tie him in some way. But at the same time, regardless, this is all extremely good news for people that are fans of Spawn, for people that are fans of Spawn showing up in a damn NetherRealm game in some way. I feel like we've been waiting 3 to 4 years for this one, and guess what? We actually have. So, in terms of the pantheon of guest characters that can show up in MK11, I would say Spawn is possibly my highest regard, next to potentially something like Fulgore from Killer Instinct. Either way, it's really good news if you guys are fans of Spawn, and there's a good chance this could be happening, but still not guaranteed, so take it with a grain of salt. But man, if he is, just thinking all the guns he could be using, all the crazy elemental magic and stuff that he uses within the comic books and games he's been in, much less the cape, and there's a lot of utility Spawn could have that's usually been sort of dialed down in previous games because the tech hasn't been there, because Spawn hasn't been in anything in quite some time. So, that's fantastic news. The other news is that, once again, on retailer websites, one site was listing some details for Mortal Kombat 11, and lo and behold, we got 2 new characters. It's almost like this game is coming out in 5 months and no one can keep their damn mouth shut. To no one's surprise, Liu Kang and Sub-Zero are supposed to be in the game. I'm very curious how they're going to depict Sub-Zero in this game, because there's a lot of other interesting stuff that's tying into Nintendo and how Mortal Kombat 11 is on Switch, and the importance of that entire thing, which is kind of a talk for a completely separate video. I need to talk about why MK coming back to Nintendo is a really big deal, and I'm very excited for it, but either way, we got Liu Kang and Sub-Zero 99% going to show up in the game. That's a good thing, but not a surprising one. And the last bit of news, which is related to Mortal Kombat 11, but is still in the rumor mill right now, is somewhat related to the thing we were talking about earlier, how there's a potential for Mortal Kombat to have HD remakes in some way of the classic games. There's a company called Blind Squirrel Games, who I actually had to look up to see what they do, and there's quite a bit of games within their library that they have worked on between cinematics and gameplay and coding and everything like that. They are supposedly working on 3 HD remakes, a trilogy of games of fighting games from the 90s. And they also state that it's running in Unreal Engine 4. A lot of this stuff is lining up with what we believe to be Mortal Kombat. Other things like Mortal Kombat 11 running on Unreal Engine 4 isn't exactly stated yet, but is heavily believed to, because they've been talking about it so much within a lot of the marketing and promotion. And these Blind Squirrel guys are apparently working on a trilogy of games that is lining up really closely with stuff that is Mortal Kombat related. It could be anything, like it could be Samurai Showdown, it could be, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom, it could be, we don't even know what the heck they're working on, we just know it's fighting games from the 90s, but I think it's a very, very good chance that these games are going to be related to MK in some way, maybe an MK1, 2, and 3 remake. They are being described as remakes because there's like level design aspects and integrated works where they're describing how they gotta mesh the worlds of the games together. There's a lot of work that sounds like it's going into it, and it's not just a tiny little remake. I mean, all things considered, like I said, we're not that far away from the eventual news release, much less the actual release of Mortal Kombat 11. There's only so much time to do this stuff, and if this is related to MK, dude, I really, really hope that MK3 is in there, or UMK3 specifically, much less go even further with Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I hope this is actually referring to Mortal Kombat Trilogy because of the classic MKs. I really like MK Trilogy probably the most of any of them. But either way, there's a good chance this is related to Mortal Kombat, and in some way there might be an HD remaster of those games, and that would be pretty badass. So, all things considered, some stuff in the rumor mill was Spawn and potentially HD remakes of old Mortal Kombat games. We practically got confirmation that Liu Kang and Sub-Zero are going to be in MKXI. But at the same time, it feels like there's news every single day about this game popping up, and it's absolutely crazy. I'm doing my best just trying to keep up with it, and I haven't even had a chance to talk about the importance and the significance of Mortal Kombat coming back to Nintendo consoles, because that is a really big deal. Potentially could mean things for the future. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more updates as soon as possible. I will be attending the Mortal Kombat 11 giant debut that's in the middle of January, and doing my best to get some high-quality footage to you guys as quickly as possible. But until then, thank you dudes a ton for watching. Expect some Mortal Kombat Legacy stuff to start popping up fairly soon, because we don't have much time, and I would love to cover some of the story modes of the previous games, especially MK9 and MKX once again, as well as revisiting a lot of the classic Mortal Kombats, learning how to play them with friends, of course, and playing the ones online, which the ones we actually can. Take care, dudes, and I'll see you next time.